I'm David Lehman, and this is As the Key Turns. And I worked at the United States Penitentiary in Marion, Illinois for 23 years. It was the only level 6 super maximum federal prison of its day. We actually replaced Alcatraz, and we were the predecessor to the prison that's currently the supermax in Colorado. And people generally ask me all the time, well, what about you? You personally, what motivated you? Why did you work there? Those kinds of questions. And one was the question of what made you who you are today? Well, today I'm a 63-year-old, been retired for 12, almost 13 years from the prison. And what made me who I am today kind of thing? Well, I built a 3,700 square foot house in southern Illinois while I worked at the penitentiary. And believe it or not, that was the most difficult thing that I personally had done. I mean, there was a lot of work to solo construction of a house. Now, having said that, yeah, I didn't put the roof on because I'm not physically able to do that. I did that for my garage, which is like 800 square feet, but yeah, the roof I couldn't put on, trusses I can't do by myself. It took an actual crew, and the drywall I didn't put in by myself because A, I'm super slow at it, and B, it's really hard for me to hang sheetrock all by myself. I mean, it can be done, but I was just terrible at it. It would have taken me an extra year to do the finish work, and I spent 3.5 years working on that property. Now, the whole time I was in the military, I never just fell over on the ground and cried. That never happened. I mean, just never happened. I did it when I was working on that house. I smashed my thumbs like 4 or 5 times in one day with a hammer, and I was sick to begin with, but I was just trying to get something done, and had, like, everything was wrong with me. I was coughing my head off, had diarrhea, like, oh, what crap. And I smashed my thumb one more time and just said, I give up, dropped my hammer, fell down on the ground, cried for a while, and then I said, you know what, I feel better, I can go back to work now. So it was that kind of a mission to finish this job. It just went on and on and on. I mean, weekends, evenings, just a struggle. My wife had to help me because she was making the money when she was doing child care. And occasionally she would come over with the kids that she was watching to me, and she would, like, have the little kids doing little kid things, and occasionally come over and I'd say, hey, I got to lift this board or whatever. I mean, I had to build, what do you call it? The walls. You lay them down on the ground and you put them together and then you lift them up. And I had to get a special tool just for that so that I could do it. The thing cost me like $300-400. Yeah, I still have it. It's in the garage. And you lift the wall up and then secure it into place and things like that. And everything just went on and on. It wasn't so much like any one day, other than smashing my thumb 5 times in one day. When I was done, was laying on the ground and crying, I went and got a pair of pliers, and I would hold the nail in the pliers and then drive it that way so I wouldn't smash my thumb anymore, because I said, I just can't do this anymore. I can't crush my thumb one more time today. I just can't do it. And then, so I got a pair of pliers and I held the nail and then I drove it in that way. But the part of the project that made it the most difficult was the length that it went through. I mean, it took me 3.5 years to construct that house. So at the same time, my poor wife had to make all the money because we didn't borrow any money to build the house. When it was finished, when the last nail was driven, we owned it. We didn't go to the bank. So that was what the real payoff thing was for. Oh, and then I had a supervisor once that it just killed him that I had this house. I mean, it was just like, he kissed ass all that he could, and he sucked his way up the chain of command till he was like, a captain, which was my boss's boss. And I had a house far nicer than his. It just was mind-boggling to him. How is that possible? Well, it's because when he was hanging out at the bar, which he told us all about continuously, when he was hanging out at a bar, I was driving nails. I was adding value to something. And, I got to be well known in the town that I was doing this construction on. Like the police department used to come by and cruise by real slow and look at me, because like they were fascinated with it. And this lady told my wife, she used to go jogging at the high school. My wife did. And this lady used to go jogging at the high school. And then she got to talking to this lady, and this lady was telling her, yeah, there's this guy on the edge of town, he's building this house, and we feel so sorry for him because he's just laboring away, he's a little old guy, and he's laboring away. And I'm like, I'm a little old guy. This was 25 years ago. I was like in my late 30s. But apparently to her, I look like a little old guy, and they said they were kind of proud of me because, they could see me building this house. And after a while, I got to realizing that, wow, there's a lot of people watching me for whatever reason, and they take pride that someone in their town is willing to put this much effort into constructing a house. And I actually finished it. There's a couple of houses around here in the southern Illinois that aren't completed. They'll never be completed because the guy started what I did but never finished it, because it's the length of time. It's like the Army. Like the 6 years that I was on active duty in the Army, and in the 6 years that I was in part-time duty in the Coast Guard, those years seem to take up more time than many years in other things. Like the 23 years I did at the prison don't seem nearly as long as the 6 years I did in the military, because I was constantly doing something. There was never a break. And the 3 years that it took me to build a house, 3.5 years to build a house, seemed a lot longer than it actually was, because I was awake and busy and doing something all of the time. And it takes a lot of self-discipline to get up off the couch every day, rain or shine. I mean, I was out working on the place in the rain, driving nails, to build these walls and get it dry. And once I got the roof on it, then I could work on the inside. And there's a lot of work to do on the inside of a house. I mean, I had to learn a bunch of things as I was going along. Like I had to learn to do plumbing. And then after all the sewer lines were done, then I could do the pressure lines. And then after that, then I could do the electrical stuff. And, because it has to go in order. Because like sewer lines, you can't move. They have to go downhill. They must do that. But the pressure lines, well, you could do loop-to-loops if you wanted to. And the electrical, well, you could jam them in little bitty spaces. Don't have to take as much space. And you have to do things in order. And in those days, this was the late 90s. In those days, I had 3 different books that told me how to build houses and do everything step by step. And it took all 3 books. And when I read it, then I would do it. And then I would say, oh man, that's what they meant. And sometimes I had to tear out the whole thing and do it all over again. The guys at the electric shop at the prison, I would go to them for advice. And one time I wired a bunch of lights in series. And that's like the Christmas tree that you have. One light bulb goes out, they all go out. Well, I wired it's legal to do that. You can wire a room in series. It just doesn't work very well. And I couldn't understand it because I was using fluorescent bulbs. So I turned them on, and like 3 of the 4 would come on. Then I'd turn it off, and I'd turn it back on, and a different one would stay off. And I was just like pulling my hair out. Why is this wrong? And even the book that I had on the electrical rules, I didn't violate any of the electrical rules. I just did something that wouldn't work. And so I saw them guys, and they thought that was all funny, and they all made fun of me. Hey, you wired a whole room in series, ha ha ha. Okay, yeah, made a mistake. You have to be willing to make that mistake, and you have to be willing to be made fun of, because I don't know. I did something completely ignorant. It wasn't dangerous. I wasn't killing anybody. I did, at the end, have an electrician inspect a thing and say, I want to know if it's legal, and I want to know if it's safe, and I want to know that it'll work. And so we did that. And same thing with the plumbing. Is this legal? Is this going to be dangerous to me or the family or anybody else? And we found a few things that's like, oh, nah, this ain't going to work. This ain't legal. You got to use this kind of trap or whatever. And I changed that. But the majority of the work I did on my own. And I didn't lay the carpet either, because the wife and me laid a carpet in another house. And you really hate your wife, lay carpet with her, and by the time it's over with, you're going to want to like go out in the yard and stab each other. So don't lay carpet together. That was another thing too that prepared me to construct the house for myself. Was I bought a bunch of rental properties that were in really bad shape, and I got to disassemble them and reassemble them, with new materials, like all the drywall that had holes knocked in it. I tore it all out and replaced it. Well, that's when I learned, man, I suck at drywall. I'm just incapable of doing what everybody does. Now you see it on the internet where these guys just slap up drywall and use the knives and make it work really great. I'm incapable of doing that. Just can't do it. I'm not going to learn it. It's just impossible. Now I can hang the drywall, but even then I do a really bad job of. And I spent a lot of effort. Like all the drywall for this 3,700 square foot house, I had to physically pick up the pieces outside and move them inside where the fellas would work on it. And I actually hurt myself. I was out of commission for like 2 or 3 weeks after that because I did something to my shoulders. So you got to know your capabilities too. But the point is that what made me able to deal with many other things in life was that, hey, I had some experience in building trades by redoing rental properties. I had some experience in disasters, I guess you'd like to say, mini disasters. The military is nothing but mini disasters all the time. This don't work, that don't work, this is difficult, that's cold, that's hot. I mean, they had me out in the desert, they had me in Arctic conditions and everything in between, rain, mud, snow, where I stomped it down and laid down in it. So I was used to adversity. And when this house project came along, it seemed like everything I had done up until that point led me in that direction. And so I was able to do that work and had the self-discipline to finish it. And it was the same thing with my storage business, which I've made a bunch of money on, is everything that I do in storage I have done previously, like physical security. I guarded nuclear weapons. It was all about physical security: fences, alarm systems, barbed wire, concertina, chain link fence, patrols, just something that would protect this item, this nuclear weapon. Well, I'm telling you that my storage facility is not as secure as a nuclear storage facility, but I have incorporated a bunch of the lessons that I learned there. And like, I have fence alarms, I have motion detectors, I have cameras that record, that kind of thing. Of course, the last time I had a female burglar, never had one of them before, ever. Even all the time I was a policeman, never had a female burglar. Had a female burglar break in. She was extremely paranoid about getting caught. I mean, all you'd see was this, man, just a couple of eyes. She covered up all of her skin so her tattoos didn't show, nothing. And every time she saw a vehicle, even in the distance, she laid down on the ground, wore all black. So, unless she was detected by a motion detector or whatever, and she had studied the place and knew where the motion detectors were. So now I had to increase them to the point where motion detectors watch other motion detectors because of her. That kind of thing. You just learn from past experience to the point where I am now. I'm 63 now. and I want to just kind of relax and travel the world, which some people have picked on me for that. Well, we pay you guys too much. Yeah, well, I travel the world because of my non-Bureau of Prisons activities, not because I retired from them. I mean, I remember that boss, the one that was jealous of my house. He's now retired, and he says that his retirement is a pittance. Well, since his retirement is less than my own, I mean, my boss's boss would have 2 levels of retirement above mine, logically. And if his is just a pittance, then I figure mine is a pittance minus 2. So I live on less than a pittance, according to him. But, I own a couple of businesses and stuff. I mean, it's just because of the experience that I had prior to working in the Bureau. Another thing with the Bureau, too, and maybe this is a warning for other people. When I originally went down and did the interview for the Bureau of Prisons, they had the head of HR, and it was called Human Resources at the time, not whatever this nonsense is. No, it was called Personnel, not Human Resources. It was called Personnel in those days, and now it's become Human Resources, and now they call it People Projects or whatever thing. It's the same thing. It's personnel. The head of personnel said, "Man, your interview was the best interview I've seen in over 20 years of doing this job." And I thought, uh-oh, that's a bad sign. If I'm the best that you've ever seen in 20 years, uh-oh. Because when I was hiring on with the police departments, say, take Castle Rock, Longview, Kelso, which other ones? The ones that I got actually hired, Woodland and Cowlitz County Sheriff's Department. Those places, they would have a list, and you would interview, and they would write down what they thought of you, and then that would give you so many points. And then if you did the physical agility, where you did sit-ups and push-ups and pull-ups and ran a obstacle course, and it based on your score there, and then they would give you, and then you did a written one, and based on that, you got a score. Well, I would always be number 5 on the list, and they would hire 4 guys. Or I would be number 7, and then he would hire 6, and that kind of thing. And I thought, wow, I'm right at that point where we hire or we don't hire. It's kind of iffy. So I was never on the number 1 on the hit parade kind of thing. No, that was not me in regular police work. But apparently in Bureau of Prisons, I was outstanding. I was the honor grad, when I went to the school. All that kind of stuff. I did well at the police academy. I think I was number 1 at the police academy that I went to. And my friend was number 2, and he's always number 1 in everything. And when they announced the number 2 slot, I said, "Oh man, I didn't even get in the top 5. Wow, that sucks." And when they announced that I was the number 1, I didn't stand up because I was in shock. What? Did they say my name? Really? That kind of thing. It was pretty funny. My friend still talks about it. He goes, "Yeah, remember when you won number 1 and you didn't even get up?" That kind of thing. It's like, "Oh, you were so shy." I'm like, I wasn't shy. I was in shock. So, just the way life is. Sometimes you do really well at something and you didn't even know it. But I remember thinking then, and I believe so now, that me joining the Bureau of Prisons was probably a waste of some inane talent. I mean, I can construct houses. They couldn't construct houses. I can do many different things that the average guy with the Bureau of Prisons was incapable of doing. Or they would just do their one little thing, or they didn't have the drive to do something else. And that's why people all the time are like, "Oh, the generation today, they don't have the opportunities." And yeah. They do have the opportunities. I mean, you could start building houses. You could rent them out. You could buy just dirt. But along with that is, my wife is as cheap as I am. We have a hard time spending money on anything. I drive an ancient truck. It's way over. All my vehicles are over 20 years old. All of them. In America, in Guyana, everywhere. All my vehicles are over 20 years old. And all the places that I live in, I've constructed. Like in Guyana, I was like the contractor. I didn't do the actual physical work like I did in America. But I tend to replace the people that are the most valuable, because why would I pay a guy to do that if I could do it? I'm just sitting there on my butt. I might as well do his job. That kind of thing. That's the attitude. And people especially Americans, they don't do anything that's not their job. Like, they hire out somebody to mow the grass. For God's sakes, you can't mow the grass and save all that money and put it away and eventually build up to the point where you can do something, or at least not go farther into debt. My parents survived the Great Depression. My father's father, my grandfather, the guy I never met, the guy that died in 1946, he lost the farm. So my dad became a hobo because the family farm went down the drain because they borrowed money against it. You know, they were in Napa Vine, Washington. They borrowed money against the farm, and in the 1930s, Napa Vine, like the rest of the country, was hit with all the disasters, and my dad ended up out on his ear, having to make his own way in the world, became a hobo, went and worked part-time jobs. You should have heard some of the stories he would tell, you know, and because of that, him and my mother both, like my mom took great pride in that she could change tires, change the oil filter on the car, and change the oil. We didn't go to any of the oil changing places because we could do it cheap ourselves. And when things went to hell and we got into trouble in one place or another, we could extricate ourselves. My parents once took me into the desert. The car battery died. We couldn't get it, but what we did is both my parents pushed on the car up the hill, and my job as like the 10-year-old was to move the rock that was next to the tire. So they would move it up 2 inches, and I'd put the rock next to the tire, and then they inched their way up this hill, and eventually they rolled downhill, popped the clutch, got the thing started, and we got out of the desert. That's how we extricated ourselves from that thing. It wouldn't work today because all my vehicles are automatic transmission, so that solution wouldn't work today. I would have to use something else. But like recently, I used the information that I got from YouTube to rebuild, to take a golf cart that runs on batteries, these giant, enormous batteries, and put in a motor, and the motor runs a alternator, and the alternator runs the electric motor that the golf cart did. Yes, inefficient, but I didn't have to take and cut it all to pieces and weld all kinds of things in to make this motor work. Didn't have to do that. An ordinary guy could do it if he had the knowledge and if he was willing to take the risk. So instead of spending another $1,000 to buy new batteries for this thing, I spent like $350 or so and redid the whole thing, and it ought to last a lot longer than the 1 year that I was getting out of these batteries, because my employees were running them to death because they use it every day and they charge it, you know, every other day or so, and it was just killing them. It's unlike most people who use it to, you know, now and then to go on the golf course. We use it on the 5-acre facility to drive around. Well, one of the 5-acre facilities to drive around. So, you know, it's how I am the person that I am today, and I go all to that point where I built the 3,700 square foot house. Because if you could build one of them things by yourself, without having to be beaten every day to get up and go do the work, I mean, I remember thinking a couple of times, man, I want to quit. I really want to quit. But I've come so far and I put in so much money. And my wife has done so much sacrifice, like she was doing all the cleaning, taking care of kids, had her job, cleaning the house, washing the dishes, cooking the food, all that stuff, just to give me the opportunity to go work on that house that, you know, we ended up living in for many years, and we'll return to when we're done with the Guyana thing, when I get old and we need um, better medical care, because old people need better medical care than younger people. And when my health finally deteriorates, or her health finally deteriorates, and we return to America, it'll probably be to that house. Uh, so, what was your toughest thing that you ever did? That was it, the house. And how did it affect me? It gave me the discipline, even beyond what the military gave me, to finish the projects. Because the military, it would be short-term things. You might do it for, a long-term thing in the military is 18 months. But there is an end. You see it coming. Build a house and it takes 3.5 years, and you don't know when it's going to come. Although one of the contractors I talked to one day said, hey man, there's only so many nails in the house, and when you drive the last nail, it's done. And I don't know what that number is, and I don't know how far you are, but every day when you're driving those nails, you're getting just that much closer. Kind of reminded me of the big long walks that you would take in the military. You'd have this 80 pounds of crap on your back, and you'd be dragging yourself along, and you'd think, well, we're coming to an end eventually. I'm going to get there eventually, but I got to take one more step. And that one more step is one less step that I have to take. It was kind of like that to finish the house. So there you go. There's the hardest thing that I ever did, which is remarkable considering the life that I've lived has been full of violence and difficulties in different ways than building a house. Toughest thing I ever did, the hardest thing mentally to do.